everyone. This is once more Paia Groject, the unofficial podcast about Gaia Project, the one and only with inverted consonants, so as to make it very clear that this is not official. This is again Simone, aka Molfo, on boardgames.space, if you happen to play Gaia Project on that platform. And here with me today is...
Hi, Matteo, El Temblo on Board Gamers with inverted consonants.
And yes, we're back for you with our bad English, our terrible accents, mispronouncing the word Ivits or Ivits. I still don't know. I don't even know if that's a word, actually. But anyways, inverted consonants, Simone, Matteo, bad pronunciation, everything's ready. Welcome back to Paia Groject. Today, we have prepared a very special episode. Is it special, Matteo?
If you say so.
Yes, it's special because it is about a very important aspect of the game.
A great one. And it's about advanced tactiles.
Exactly, advanced tactiles. So what's about advanced tactile, Matteo? How many advanced tactiles do we have in Gaia Project?
You caught me off guard because I wasn't prepared, but I can tell you that we have exactly 15 advanced tactiles.
15,
the game.
Exactly.
15. Oh, no. We have exactly 15 advanced tactiles.
Indeed.
Advanced technology tiles are a very important aspect of the game, especially when you had to choose which faction you will play. They're, in general, a very important aspect of your strategy, I suppose, right?
Yes, agreed, 100%. Even before you pick your faction, you have to plan for which advanced tactile you will be aiming for in this game. Certain factions can go up certain tracks more quickly, and certain factions are better at exploiting certain specific advanced tactiles. So this is a very important aspect of the setup of the game, which is not to be underestimated. It's not just the map, it's not just the main scoring objectives, but advanced tactiles are an important part of the faction selection process, I would say.
Because it's not, you don't necessarily have to grab a scoring advanced tactile in order to win the game, but it's a very uncommon case, the one where you will win the game without having at least one.
Yes, indeed. It can be done, but it is rare.
Indeed. So I think we have divided the advanced tactiles in 4 groups, right?
I would say there are 4 different types of advanced tactiles. And they're different because they do different things for you and help you in win the game in different ways. So let's say the easiest one, the ones that have more immediate effect, are those that will just give you points. Give you points. The moment you take them, you receive a certain amount of points, and that's
the instant scoring ones. I see.
Exactly. The instant scoring one. You take the tile, you get the points. End of the story.
Okay. So which one do we want to start with?
So we have this is actually the most numerous group. We have 5 different instant scoring tactiles, and they're all good, I would say. These are 5 solid advanced tactiles. They're all very reliable, good old, solid, immediate scoring advanced tactile. So these are, of course, the infamous 5 points for each federation token that you have at the moment you take the tile.
A very coveted advanced tactile.
Very coveted, true. And these includes the Glean Federation token, the special Glean Federation token. Don't forget that.
Super important.
Super important. Then there is the maybe not that popular, but still very good, very solid advanced tactile that is 4 points for each trading station you have on the map.
Then we have 2 points for each mine, 2 points for each sector, and 2 points for each Gaia planet, the 2 points family.
Exactly, the 2 points family. Of these, I would say, all right, there are things to be said about each of these tiles.
Indeed.
But I think 2 points per Gaia planet deserves a special mention because that specific tactile, it's in a way, I consider that tactile a game changer, meaning that this is one of those tactiles that cannot be exploited at the same level by all factions. In particular, factions that are particularly good at Gaia forming will do great with this tactile, right? So the mere presence of this tactile on one of the tech tracks might induce some players to pick a Gaia forming faction in place of another faction.
Of another one, yes.
So this is very specific. There are very few factions that can score more than 10 points with this advanced tactile. I mean, everyone, if they want to, everyone can score 6, 8 points with this tactile, but that's hardly enough to justify the effort that you make in order to get this tactile. I mean, 6, 8 points are not worth one of your federation tokens. They're not worth an advanced tactile. You can score 8 points in several other ways in this game. So this specific advanced tactile is reserved for family of factions, of which, of course, the first that comes to mind are the Terrans and the Ethars, if they decide to play the Gaia forming game. Baltax, why not? The Gleans, the Gleans.
Baltax not, because Baltax suck, remember?
yeah, they do suck. But again, if they're left alone in Gaia forming, and if this tile sits on top on a good track, I mean, even the Baltax can score.
Yes, they can.
Very, very nice amount of points with this tile. And the Gleans, that really depends on the game. The Gleans are heaven. Normally, when I play Gleans, I never get more than 4 or 5 Gaia planets. But again, if you go full Gaia forming with Gleans, then they as well. Why not? The Edits, why not? Even the Edits can do a pretty good Gaia forming game. Other factions, you really need to get creative, but yeah, that's possible.
In general, this tactile can be situational for non-Gaia forming factions. Meaning that, for example, with Ambas, you can end up having like 5 or 6 Gaia planets. It can happen. In that case, this tactile will be very good for them. However, I think it has to be said that, in general, all of these tactiles, you will aim at grabbing them during the late game in general, or at least when the best scenario for scoring is true. Say, if it's, around 4, and you have 8 open mines, and you have access to the 2 points per mine advanced tactile, then the sooner the better, because you will run less risks of seeing the tile stolen from you. This is true for this one and for the 2 points per sector, especially because 4 points per trading station can lead to a disaster next the following round, because you will have tons of credits. But
you mean that the 4 points per train station is a late game tactile? No, I agree with that.
More than other ones.
More than 2 points per mine. That
in general, the criterion for evaluating this group of technology tiles is the 7 points base tactile. It is true that all of these have the advantage of going up one track of your choice, meaning that you will more easily have 4 extra points from that move. But of course, it depends, because if the 7 points base tactile is one of the 3 where you choose which track you will advance, that's basically the same, but it depends. Under that respect, since we were talking about the 2 points per Gaia planet tactile, it is true that if you have less than 4 Gaias, this tile can be inconvenient. But it is also true that by the mere fact, of taking this tactile, you will deny it to another player who could be that guy with Terrans who has been rushing 10 transdims all game.
Yeah.
And you have to take into account that you will deny her or him 20 points while scoring, say, even 6 or 8 for you. That's a difference of 26 points, which is nothing to sneeze at. And this is true in general for all of these tiles. So yes, they are late game tactiles, but you have to be very careful with balancing the maximum scoring against less scoring possible for all the players. Better 10 points from 5 points per federation than leaving 15 to another one, because you are too greedy. This is
or even leaving 10 to another player, I mean, 10 points out of that advanced tactile is not ideal, but if the alternative is not taking it at all, or leaving it to somebody else who's going to score that 10 points, willing to score that 10 points, then it's better for you to take it, because then again, then you have a difference of 20 points, right? It's 10 more for you, 10 less for them. So and yes, I agree 100% with what you just said about the 2 points per Gaia planet tactile. Maybe you're in a game where that specific advanced tactile is useless for you, but and you take it, you score 2 points, 4 points, 6 points. That's not important. The point is that if you are denying somebody else 18 points, 16 points, then you should seriously consider
taking it nonetheless. Yes, correct. Of course, if flipping that federation won't cost you too much.
Yes,
but
you have at that point you have to balance, you have to evaluate what your best move is.
Yes, but take into account the possibility of taking one of these, especially the 2 points per Gaia, which is maybe the most extreme one of the group.
Yeah, I'd say that's rather common. I found myself in plenty of games where I took the 2 points per Gaia planets for a handful of points, just so that I could deny a huge scoring bonus to somebody else. Yeah.
The same is true, in my opinion, for the 2 points per sector. These two are very similar, but it depends on the game. It has to be said that the 2 points per sector is a rather limited one, although not as limited as the 2 points per mine, because here you have a cap of 20 points, but while with mines you have a cap of 18 points, because
18 points. Yeah.
You can have the Lost Planet, remember?
In Christmas Land, you can score 18 points with the 2 points per mine advanced tactile. I've seen that happen. It's not that common, but I've seen that happen.
Yes, I've done that with Lantis once. But also, it can be worth taking these 2 tiles as well, just in order to deny the scoring to another player. Yeah. Even if you are not scoring great, but if she or he is going to score huge, well, or at least very good, it can be much better to steal the tile from them. I'd like to say just a couple of quick things about the 5 points per federation and 4 points per trade station about this tile, because I think that the 2 points per federation is a bit overrated one, because I think that the best possible case is 25 points, and it's very uncommon because you have to form 4 federation on the map and take the one on top of the terraforming track, or you have to form 5 federation, which is very difficult by itself.
Except for the Ambas. The Ambas are the only faction that can reasonably think to pull off the 5th federation on the board.
And so it's already limited because you can form 4 federation almost exclusively with factions which have some bonuses to form them, namely Xenos, Bescots, and Lantids, and also with Taklons or Nevlas, because they have so many resources that they can do that. But even for them,
it's not uncommon for Taklons to place a 4th federation on the board. If it's well,
but yes, of course. Sorry, I was forgetting the best factions of the game. But the problem with this tile is that the cap is high, but it's not that high. I mean, other tiles can make you score a lot more in a much easier way. And also, this tile is very famous, as you were saying at the beginning. So this will bring to a lot of competition for this tile, depending, of course, on its position on the board.
But it's normally very, as you say, it's very coveted, this tactile. So it's very hard that you will have it all for yourself, late game, you're alone on top of some tech track, and then you have the 5 point federation advanced tactile waiting for you there. That's normally not what happens. Although I have to say that theoretically, not even in Christmas Land, but in Super Christmas Land, the maximum amount of points you can score with these tactile is 30 points. In a scenario where you have placed 5 federations on the board, which only the Ambas basically can do, and you have also taken the 1 federation that sits on top of the terraforming track. In that case, you have 6 federation tokens, and you can score 30 points with these tile, but I don't even remember if I have ever seen that done.
Anyway, in general, I think that all of these tiles, except for the Gaia one, which you were saying at the beginning, are situational ones. I mean, I will not play aiming at one of those, but since it's convenient and I am already there, I'll just grab it as well. And this is true for
Right.
all of them, especially the
Right.
2 points per mine or
Yeah,
the trading station.
2 points per mine is probably the only one you can reasonably aim for, because if you're a faction that is very good at expanding soon, and again the ambush come to mind, it's not uncommon for certain factions to have all their mines out around 2 or 3. I mean, that can be done, and under the right circumstances you can form a federation around 3, an early federation around 3, and then maybe around 4 you get this for 14, 16 points. That's not that's possible. That's the only one you can grab, not early, but earlyish, kind of early, and with certain factions.
This tactile has a specific disadvantage because basically every faction can score decently from it. On the other hand, the 4 points for each trading station is a very interesting one, because this is the one advanced tactile of this group, which has the most difficulty in scoring well, because by the mere fact that you are building a research lab, you will automatically remove 4 points from it, so scoring 12, which is not great. And also having a lot of trading station on the board is not a common occurrence. But the fact here is that this one tactile is probably the one for which you will have the less competition on the board. And so it can be interesting in general, and very interesting for those two factions for which having trading stations on the board is both common or advantageous. And I'm thinking about Firax.
Yes.
And of course, Hadshalas.
Yeah, of course, these two factions have a special relation with this tactile. Although I have to say about Firax that Firax are very bad at opening academies, of course, because they love their research labs. And so it's very hard for Firax to score 16 points out of this advanced tactile. Maybe in in the last round you're able to build that extra research lab that allows you to further upgrade it to an academy and then score 16 points, or you can do that via the 4 CAQ's special action. This advanced tactile in particular has a special relation with the 4 QAC's action, because if you use that, you're not forced to cover one of your training station with a research lab, and so you can score the 16 points.
It's also a good backup plan if you had plenty of QACs for last round, someone else stole the Rescore Federation action, and you will just use your QACs in an efficient way, and also score nice. This style can actually grant you 20 points, because you will have 16 points immediately and 4 for the bump on the technology trucks. So
one last thing to mention about this tactile is that, and we already said that in our first episode, but remember that even academies, in the case of Bescots, cover your training station. So if you open an academy, you will still get 12 points out of this tactile, unless, of course, you use the 4 QICs.
I never thought about this. Great. So Bescots basically cannot score 16 unless they take it with the 4 QIC sections.
This is another nerf the Bescots have, and if you're thinking, well, that's not that big of a deal, well, I can grant you after hundreds of games with Bescots. This is a problem more often than it seems. So to sum up, the immediate scoring advanced tactiles, they're 5. They're all relatively good, I would say. You should expect, I would say, between 12 and 16, 18 points out of this tactile. So 12 is the baseline. I would not consider taking one of these style for less than 12 points unless you are forced to do so because of competition. And we discussed that before. But you can take your time and score them whenever you want. Then I'd say 12 points is the minimum. And the maximum, that depends on the tactile, but I say 16 points is very good. Scoring bonus, you should seriously consider going for
Yes,
16 points.
and also these tactiles are not super important as a factor when deciding which faction to pick, because
Yes,
they
true.
are situational, and basically everyone who arrives there will pick one. So don't rely too much on this when choosing your faction, except maybe for the Gaia one.
Exactly. So this is it. This was our first and largest family of advanced tactile. Family number 2. What do you want to do next, Matteo?
Since we talked about instant scoring, let's consider the opposite ones. And I mean the two technology tiles, which grant you points whenever you build something from that point on. And these two tactiles are two tactiles I have to say I like a lot because of a few reasons.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. So we have moved from the largest family to the smallest family.
Yep.
It's only two tactiles that have this very. I really like advanced tactiles in Gaia Project because they're crazy. They do all kinds of different things. They activate all types of different mechanics, and so they make the game really more complex and full of possibilities, full of different paths that you can follow. And these two tactiles, I agree with you. I really like them because sometimes they are underrated, especially the 3 points for trading station.
Trading station, of course.
One. There are reasons for this. It is not that every faction can perform equally well with this advanced tactile. But, of course, we already kind of said that. But if you're aiming for 3 points for trading station, then there is one faction in particular that is very fond of this tactile. Matteo, you want to name them?
Of course. And these are Firax.
Yes, our favorite octopus.
Firax, this is probably the second best advanced tactile for Firax. But since you are going to put a lot of trading stations on the map, regardless of everything else with Firax, the sooner you get this tile, the better. Of course, this is not one tactile for which the Firax should do crazy stuff. So it can be a decisive factor when picking Firax or not, if it sits on top of the economy track, of course, and also the terraforming track, because usually Firax will want to climb the terraforming track after the economy or the science one, depending on which kind of game you want to play. But
these are all common tracks for Firax.
For Firax. So, this is a very good one for them. I think that in theory, this is good as well for Hadshalas because of the reason I said before. But I have to be honest, I never actually done this, so I cannot speak out of experience. Anyway,
I have to say I have rarely seen it put to really good use by factions other than Firax, which it doesn't mean it's impossible.
I think that for other factions, this becomes a situational one. I mean, you grab it, then you score like 9 to 12 points, which is fine. And then that's it. This is a tactile I commonly pick when playing Terrans, like last rounds or forming federations. I score 9 to 12, and that's fine for me. But Firax can really pull out something like 21 to 24 points.
Yes, but even without getting at these extreme, results, which are possible. But I'm just thinking, you're playing Firax, you get these round 4, then you have 3 downgrades, which means 9 points out of this tile, and then you build an extra, let's say, 3 trading stations, which is like really doable, really easy to pull off, and there you are. You already sit on 16 points, which is not bad, right? Because it's 3.
It's 18 because
it's 18. It's 18. So it's very 6
6 trading station, 18 points, which is a very good one. Yes, of course.
Math was never my strong subject. Exactly. So very good for Firax. But remember what we said about the immediate scoring ones. If you can score 12 point, well, that's already something. That starts to be good enough,
nice.
For you to consider. It's nice for you to consider taking this tactile. And with this tactile, you can easily score 12 points. You only need 4 turning stations, and that's not hard to accomplish.
That's not hard. So. These tiles, of course, differ from the other ones because the sooner you grab them, the better. But you don't have to rush them both too much. If you pick them by around, say, 4, that's still fine. They are still going to serve you well. One last thing I'd like to say about this specific tactile is that you will have very little competition for it.
Yes.
This in itself is a great value.
Agreed. 100%. This tactile is particularly good. I mean, it is not particularly good in itself, but it's good because you know that you probably won't have any competition, and no one will be rushing for it. No one will be competing with you.
Yep.
So this is another reason why this is particularly good for Firax. Firax are a very nice faction to play, very interesting faction to play, but I would not rate them among the strongest factions of the game. They can be in certain conditions, but not always. So it is good for them to have something, you know, they can rely on, knowing that they don't run the risk of somebody stealing it from them. For our second tactile in this family, this is one of the advanced tiles I love the most because it's spectacular. Under the right circumstances, it can really allow you to pull off some really spectacular tricks and some really spectacular final scorings. Unlike the trading station one, the trading station 1, you don't have to rush it, definitely. Well, this one depends what you want to accomplish with it, right? If you're happy with 12, 15 points, that's okay. You can take it round 4, maybe beginning of round 5, and still bring home some decent amount of points.
Some nice scoring, yes.
But if you really plan for these in advance, and you're playing the right faction, because it's not all the factions that can do this, but you take this maybe round 3, start of round 4, and then you can score really important amount of points with this one, depending on context. But I would say it is not impossible to go up to 24 points. I remember scoring 27 points once with this tactile. And I mean, and we're really talking about crazy
scoring for one time.
Crazy scorings for just a single advanced tactile. That's really that's a lot of points.
The thing I wanted to say about this specific tactile is that I think it's one of the most faction dependent ones, because it's a sort of counterintuitive. I mean, it's on top of a tech track, so you will grab it at least by mid game, as you were saying, yes, around 3 to 4. When the most explosive factions, the most build out factions, say Ambas or Glins, especially, but also Bascots in many occasions, will already have a lot of mines built. So it's a sort of wasting some potential. The best factions, which can score most from this style, are build up then out factions. So that while you are upgrading your buildings, you're also advancing on the tech tracks. And I think that the best ones are the ones you like to go up early, or navigation. So economy, science, and navigation. Oh, and also Gaia forming, if you are a Gaia forming faction, of course.
Yes.
And in that case, this can top on the base 3 points per Gaia planet base style, making building mines on Gaia planets something brutal, because you will score 6 for each one. 8 if you're a Glean, but anyway.
8 if you're a Glean, and even more if you have some Gaia, if you have some bonus that round for building mines on that Gaia. Round. This can really get out of control in the hand of a Gaia forming faction, which is left unchecked and has some nice bonuses, on the round scoring.
Terrans can do very well with this, because they tend to up late on the Gaia forming track, but that's not a problem, because they can grab it round 5 and still score very well. But the thing I wanted to say at the beginning is this one. This is very faction dependent, and this tactile is in general a good one. It can be a very good one in the right hands, but is hands down the best tactile for Lantids. My beloved Lantids can really become a super competitive faction if this one tile is on top of, say, economy or science.
Yeah.
If it's on top of economy, it's easier. But also, if it's on top of science, you can do a very interesting game with Lantids. Grab it without being too much in a hurry. Round 4 is fine, and then score from 24 points on. This is incredible in the hands of Lantids. And the presence of this single advanced tactile on top of the economy track is a signal which immediately makes me think about picking Lantids. Of course, it depends on a lot of other factors.
Mhm.
But this one tactile really shines in the hands of Lantids. I just wanted to say this because out of my love for Lantids. But
Yep. Yep. No,
consider
that's
this.
that's definitely true. That's definitely true. And also, it is not. I mean, that really depends on the players that are in game. But sometimes I see these advanced tactile being overlooked, meaning then in certain games you don't have any competition for this specific advanced tactile,
Yep.
which can be an advantage for you. But anyways, Lantids are pretty good at forming an early federation and grabbing whatever they want, especially on the top of the economy tracks, which is probably the most obvious choice for them, in the most obvious tech track for them to climb in the early game. And of course, another faction that can do really well with this tactile, no need to say, are the white sharks of Gaia Project, the Taclons. I mean,
you don't say.
you don't say. Exactly. I mean, this becomes a bit overkill in their hand, but the point is that all the Taclons, because of all the resources they can amass in the early game, they are normally able to form federation in round 3 if they want to, without too many efforts, without sacrificing too much, and maybe, just maybe, even get this tactile end of round 3, beginning of round 4. That's definitely doable, especially if this tactile is sitting on the top of the economy track, which is personally the track that I like to go up first with Taclons. And then at that point, an alarm should start to blare, because everybody sitting at the table have a problem, because the Taclons have this tile in their hand. They still have maybe 5 unopened mines on their board, and they're going to score again 24, 27 points with this one. And everybody should be really, really afraid of the Taclons.
At that point, of course, it depends on a lot of other factors. But at that point, I don't think you have much to worry about. From that point on, your aim will be to arrive second in that game, because
unless the Taclons are a really bad game for them, they are sandwiched, and then all the yellow and gray planets are gone. And maybe some of the browns ones as well. Well, in that case, of course, the usefulness of this tile will be limited. But
decreases slightly.
Yeah, of course. So that's always contextual, but in general, that's good play you can make. And as you were saying, I agree. The rapidly expanding factions are not the faction that want to go after this tactile. Although, of course, the ambasses can do something with it. In
everybody can, but especially late expanding factions. Another factions which can do well with this style in a similar fashion to Taclons is Nevlas, mostly because of the same reasons. So lots of resources, late expansion, Nevlas Taclons, but nobody can score from this tile as well as Lantids.
And I would also add to the mix the often forgotten Hatshalas. Hatshalas can do well with this, with an early academy, rushing up economy probably again, and grabbing these. Hatshala can score a decent amount of points with this one. Yeah.
So what do we have now? I think we can pause a little from scoring tiles and pass to a very, let me say, tricky family of advanced technology tiles to value. Which are the resources ones?
Yeah, exactly. Therefore, so it's again a largish family of tech tiles. And however, there are 3 sisters or brothers and 3 siblings in this in this family, and then there is a distant cousin, the odd one out.
Yep.
And this odd one out is the 1 ore per sector advanced tech tile.
Yes, this one has a lot in common with the instant scoring ones.
Exactly.
It won't have you make you score, but it will give you resources.
It's instant resources. So, okay, let's be done with this one. What do we think about the 1 ore per sector advanced tactile?
I thought hands down this was the worst advanced tactile, but recently I think that basically every time I am there at the top of the track, I had to climb anyway. There's this style, and to be honest, 90% of the time I find myself picking this one and doing very well with it. It's super situational, but I will never aim for it, of course. but it's a honest it's a honest guy.
Yeah.
I like this tactile in the end, you know.
All right. Let's say this. The other three tiles in this family, sometimes they are simply left untouched. Nobody cares for them, and the game ends, and they're still sadly sitting on the top of their track, and nobody even looks at them. But this specific tile, very rarely remains on the board, because sooner or later, somebody who has been, cut off from other better advanced tactile or from the top of some track, and then they get the cookie. I like to think of this advanced tactile as the cookie. I mean, you didn't get first prize, probably you didn't even get second prize, but hey, here's the cookie for
Here's
you.
the one.
Here,
Yes.
here's 5, 6, maybe 7 ores for you. Do something nice. Buy yourself something nice with this ore. And sometimes you do. Sometimes this really helps your late game. But all in all, in the end, I still think that if you can go for points instead of 6, 7, even 8 ores, then you should probably aim for
No,
the
well,
points. I mean,
I fully agree with this,
Yes.
indeed. And also, it depends on the faction you're playing, because
Yes.
if you're playing Firax, you'll likely get nothing from this tile, because even if you have to pay even for a research lab, it will cost you as much as the tactile itself is going to give you. But even in that case, you have to build that lab anyway with
Yes.
Firax. So even if it gives you, say, 1 ore in the end, it also gives you a bump on a tech track of your choice, which isn't bad at all. You're basically building that lab for free. And this is the worst case. Of course, the problem is that you will have to flip a Federation token, which with Firax are very valuable.
Yes.
It's super situational. The fact that it's there often helps more than not.
It's very good for factions that form a lot of federations. I mean, if you have 4 federation tokens, then you can waste one and get this one and get some extra ore. Then maybe you need to terraform the last planet or something like that.
Again, I think this one is strong for Lantis, for example, because you will have lots of federations in general, and also you will spread out a lot, especially because you are going to pick Lantis when playing sectors. So it can easily give you a net 7 ores, which are a lot, and allow you to do spectacular things sometimes. Another thing that I like about this style, and its cousins do not have, but instead have the opposite actually, is that this one is effortless. The later, the better with this one. You don't have to put any effort into picking this one. Instead, and now we can start talking about them, the other 3 ones have this great disadvantage, because you have to actively plan of picking them. You have to actively rush up the tile, the track, have a basic tactile on which to put them, which is a cost itself, which is not irrelevant if you are going to pick them as soon as possible. And then you can finally start having those extra resources, which, to be honest, are very nice. We can talk about each one, but they are all very good. But it's exhausting. And you often feel like they really are not worth it, because if you grab one of them by the end of round 3 without destroying your economy, they're super good, in my opinion. 15 extra knowledge points are a ton. 15 extra ores are insane. But often you will ask yourself,
well, but round 2, that's almost impossible to get them round 2.
No, maybe I said round 3. You will. Oh, sorry, no.
Round
12.
3,
sorry. 12. Okay, 12 extra knowledge and 12 extra ores are still super good, to be honest.
Yes. If you can get them round 3, then they really give you an incredible boost. And round 4, maybe they're still decent. I mean, that's 9 ore or 20 credits and 4 QICs. I have to say the 5 credits and 1 QIC is probably my favorite of the 3.
It's a very good one, yes.
Because here's the point. Perfect scenario, you rush the single track, and you already have a disposable basic tactile, and you're able to form a federation, round 3, build a research lab, and get one of these. The point is that you're still not getting any points. You're getting plenty of resources, but you're not getting any points. You have to convert these resources into points, which is relatively easy to do in the case of the science one, because at the very least you will be given 12 science, which means three bumps on a tech track, which probably means 8 to 12 points, which is reasonably good. Debatable in the case of the 3 or 1, but it is of course the easiest way to convert resources into points is using QACs, right? So having a tactile that gives you extra QACs, that's really, really good.
Your reasoning is good, but you have to, I think, keep into consideration another fact that these tiles, unlike the scoring ones, snowball. It's not that if you activate the 3 or say 1 tactile 4 times, let's say, you're just getting 12 extra ores. You're getting 12 extra ores plus all the other resources that those 12 extra ores are going to give you. Because you will build buildings of course, with them, which in turn will give you extra credits, knowledges, ores, and so on. Also, the 5 credits and 1 QIC tile can help you in allowing you to go up the navigation track as late as possible, because you can use that extra QIC to move and ignore the navigation track and go up other more fruitful tracks. For the typical example being the science one, which is often neglected, but is a very strong one.
Agreed. My point in the end is that even if you were able to do all the things we just talked about, you laid your hands on one of these on round 3, you still have to confront with the possibility that there's another player sitting at your table that has done exactly the same thing, but instead of getting an advanced tactile that gives you resources, has gotten an advanced tactile that gives you points. So at that point, which one of the two is better? 3 points for Federation, 3 points for Research Lab, the 4th family of tactiles, the ones that we still have to discuss. And in that case, it becomes hard, to
decide. Yes.
No, I don't think it's hard to decide. I think they have the better end of the deal. And so these tactiles, they're situational. And the point is, there will often be something better waiting for you on the top of some tech track.
One very quick last thing, which is I think that these tactiles can also be taken as the situational one if you have that famous extra Federation token to spare by factions like Xenos, Lantids, Beskos, and so on, and Ambas at round 5, say. So, and sometimes even round 6 for the 3 knowledge one. Because let's say you are there, round 5, okay, I'll just grab it. 6 extra knowledge, 1 extra attack bump. I don't know what to pick anyway. And so it can be considered. But of course, it's not even remotely the same as, the very good ones, which are...
Yes, in the same way as the or per sectors one, they have the cookie effect. You couldn't get any better. All right, you can have a cookie, you can have some resources. And last thing, special mention. This is very obvious, but I feel we need to say this. There is a very special relationship between the 5 credits and 1 QAC advanced tactile with a specific faction, which are the Chalas, obviously. I mean, if you're playing a Chalas and this tactile is sitting, maybe on top of the economy track, which at Chalas are good at climbing in the early game, and you can take it round, even just round 4, then this has a whole completely different meaning for Hachalas than it has for other factions. You take it round 4, that means 3 QACs and 15, well, actually 15, whatever you want, is 15 powers for them. It's not 15 credits. So the Hachalas can really make this one tactile shine. Even then, if you can go for points, my recommendation is go for them. But
yes, indeed. At some point of your career, so to say, as a Gaia player, you will say, well, maybe I have to try harder with these tiles. I have to, maybe there's something which I still don't get. Trust us. No, there isn't. There's nothing. You just got them right. There are tiles which are just better, which brings us to the last family of tactiles.
Indeed.
Which are the, as you pass, score for X tiles. And, well, can we say that these are just the best?
Some of them are. Some of them are. Again, this is a family with 4 members, and one of these members is a distant cousin, is a distant relative, is the odd one out, because while 3 of these tiles give you points
actually do
at the
that.
end, yes, at the end of the round, there is one that gives you points just whenever, because it's whimsical. It's a whimsical.
It's just going to give you points and shut up and take my money.
Exactly. And all right, so since we started talking about it, I'm referring to the 2 points per tech bump tech tile. So every time you go up 1 tech track, you will get 2 points. I think me and Matteo agree in saying that these are among the best, not necessarily the best ones, but among the best tech tiles you can get. Of course, well, not all of them. One of the relatives is,
the black sheep.
The black sheep, the one uncle that always get to the Christmas dinner, and he's drunk and nobody really wants to talk with them. But we will talk about this later. But if we now focus on the
good ones,
on the good ones, what I was about to say is that maybe me and Matteo do not entirely agree on which one is ultimately the best one. My strong preference go to the one tile that I call the queen of all advanced tech tiles. That is 2 points per advancement. 2 points per bump. Why she's a queen to me, or a king if you have a different approach to advanced tech tiles.
To the fact,
because it is very it is super versatile. Every faction can get this tech tile even very late in the game and score safe amount of points, which makes an advanced tech tile worth, which is 12. Because you get it with a research lab, for instance, you immediately get 2 points. Then maybe you do this round 5. It's very easy. Round 5, you will make between round 5 and round 6 at least 3 advancement. So it's another 6 points. And round 6, you build another research lab and academy. And there you have your 12 points, which is still an okay score, but it's also very easy. I think players sometimes underestimate the amount of points that you can score with this style, because if you think about how many advancements you make, say round 4, 5, and 6, you immediately realize that this is in the league of the best advanced tech tiles that we have already seen, the ones that will give you above 16 points, say 18, 20 points. It's very easy to score 18, 20 points with this style. And the reason people don't realize it, I think one of the reasons is actually that these points come little by little. It's almost unnoticeable at first. It's 2 points here, 2 points there. You don't even realize it's happening. And at the end of the game, this person has gotten 20 extra points, and you're like, where did they get this from?
How? Right. This one is possibly the tech tile which is the most undervalued by beginner players, because you say 2 points for a tech bump, but then you realize that you get tech bumps for a lot of reasons by doing them with the foreknowledge action, by building the research structures, as you said before, with the 4 QIC action. But the most important thing is that every other tech tile will somehow force you to do something in order to score. With this tech tile, you will play your game as if you didn't have it, and still you're scoring. In fact, we put this tech tile among the, say, passive scoring ones, because you actually don't have to do anything to score with this one. It's a very good one. But of course, we said it's the queen. Oh, and by the way, maybe we should now say that the Italian word for tile is feminine, and that's why we said
that's right.
And that's why we're doing that.
Of course.
But it's the queen, especially. It's the queen in general, but it can be the empress if you are playing Firax again. Yes. This is the best scoring tile for them, because you will have a ton of bumps anyway, and you will score while doing something which is very good for you. I mean, advancing on the tracks, and you will do it more often than I think, basically everyone else. So it's a very good one, and in general, it's a tile which you should aim for. If you play Firax, just rush it as soon as possible, and if it's on top of the economy track, consider Firax for this alone.
Yes.
Oh, I won't say Tarkons, because I mean.
all in all, you can say, even if you don't actively plan for it, it's a very good, very competitive advanced tactile. If you plan for it, then it can score monstrous amounts of points. If you climbed up the science track and you're able to get the last 9 knowledge points bonus, then this becomes like really, really good. You don't need to be the Firax, although the Firax are the kings of this. The Firax are the rightful kings for this queen, but
everyone can do that. Yes,
and every faction can do really well with this advanced tactile, which is not necessarily true of the other 3 tactiles that belong in the family of the tactiles that give you points at the end of the round. So these 3 remaining tactiles are: number 1, Matteo, will you do the honor?
Yes. Shall I start from the bottom or from the top? What do you prefer?
Okay. Right, the bottom.
So, well, then without further ado, let me talk you about this tactile, which is going to give you 1 point for each planet type you have colonized during the game at the end of your turn. I know, it can be a tile which doesn't look bad, but trust me, it actually is terrible. Because, no, seriously, this tactile, at the beginning, it looked to me better than it actually is. The problem is that if you are going to pick this tactile early, it's not going to score really well, because, I mean, how many planet types are you going to have at the end of round 3? 3? Yeah, possibly 3, maybe 4. Even in that case, it's good for sure. It's going to give you 4 points at the end of each round, starting from round 3, which is a lot. But no, it's not actually. It's 16 points. And that is the problem, because see, if you were able to achieve this tile, to get this tile at the end of round 3, which is an achievement on its own, and also
indeed
have 4 planet types at the end of round 3, which is huge in my opinion, maybe Geodance if they rushed with the Planetary Institute.
I mean, it's not hard to do one of the 2 things separately. It's hard to do both of them exactly at the same time. Yeah.
But if you are able to do both of these things together, which is exceptional, you are going to get 16 points, which is a perfectly ordinary score from an advanced tactile. I don't know if you want to say something about this tile,
I think it's fair to say that if you really are able to take the tile at the end of round 3, you will probably increase the number of planet types you have colonized during the game. So maybe it will get you some 6 points, 7 points in rounds 5 and 6, which is not bad. I have seen it done. I think I've used this style to very good results a couple of times in a career of hundreds and hundreds of games of Gaia Project, right? So it's extremely uncommon to score more than 16 points with this tactile. It can be done. You normally have better options. So in the end, I think the whole point about this tactile is if you have a better option, go for it.
This tile is a sort of a cookie on the scoring side. As the 1 ore per sector was a cookie on the side of the resources,
yes.
This one is the same on the side of scoring. My advice is do not rush for it. Do not build a strategy on it. If it is on top of the terraforming track, it is not a reason to get Geodance. But the main advice, I think, is do not rush for it. It is fine if you grab it by around 5 or 4. There maybe with, I don't know, 6 planet types, 7 planet types. No, they're already a lot. But maybe 6 planet types at the end of round 5. It's going to give you 12 or 13 points, which is 12 it isn't much. It's not much, but it's not bad.
As we have said, is the baseline for an advanced tactile. I mean, it's really the minimum that you can expect to score with an advanced tactile. I don't want to be too harsh on this tactile. I think there are races, there are factions that can do well with it. Geodance, of course, come to mind. Taclons, Nebulas, why not? All the factions that are, that are good, that have plenty of resources, are good at terraforming, have a good relationship with the terraforming track. They can do well, even at Hachalas in certain circumstances. I'm not saying it's useless. I'm not saying you should not get it. I'm just saying it is very uncommon to be able to extract much value out of it.
The point is exactly that. The 2 remaining tactiles of this family are going or maybe have the potential to give you a lot more points. Speaking of which,
undoubtedly. Yes, of course, we are left with two very well-known tactiles. Well, one in particular, which is 3 points for Federation token at the end of each round. This is a tactile, an advanced tactile that you should rush if you can. And the reason why you should be doing that is that other players will. So if it's not you who take these end of round 3 or round 4, it will be somebody else. And they will score a lot of points with these. So either you are prepared to outscore them using other means, other advanced tactiles, scoring a huge amount of science point, scoring whatever, round bonuses, Gaia planets, you name it. But you have to be prepared.
Glean points.
Glean points. If you're into that kind of kinky stuff. But you have to be prepared to the idea that if somebody else that is not you is able to get this tactile, it will be a hard trouble. Yes. No, I mean, it's going to be a hard competition. Either, they get it out of sheer luck and have no idea what they're doing. Even in that scenario, even if somebody rushes it with a Federation round 3, and then they're in trouble because, they lack the resources to build a second or third Federation quickly, and they only form Federation last round. Worst case scenario, this tile will give them 15 to 18 points.
This tactile has the true potential.
Yes,
but of course, to give you a disgusting scoring.
That's not normally what happens. I was talking about worst case scenario, but
that is
not worst case scenario.
And 15 to 18 is already the best scenario for other scoring tiles. I don't know. This one tile compared to the previous one almost looks like there were some tweaking or some uncertainty during playtesting or designing. Because think about it for a while. If the planet type's tactile were 2 points per planet type, it would have been immediately broken. It would have given you a ton of points. But if instead this one would have been 2 points per fed, it would have been underwhelming. But as it is not uncommon at all to score 30 or more points with this tile. So I don't know what to make of it.
Think about this. This tactile alone is the reason why certain factions in Gaia projects are considered broken by many players.
Especially which one?
Especially which ones? Or at the very least among, the best factions in the game. And obviously we're thinking Ambas, because Ambas have the potential to form very easily 4 federations during a game. And if they really want to, the 5th federation is totally within their reach. And you can add to this the federation that sits on top of the terraforming track. So the maximum amount of federations tokens you can have in a game of Gaia Project is 6 if you're playing Ambas, I'd say. Otherwise, it's 5.
Agree.
But anyways, the fact that this federation exists and the fact that Ambas are particularly good, this tile exists, and the fact that Ambas are particularly good at forming federation and they start at navigation 1, this gives them an advantage if this tile is on top of the navigation track. And I'm sure all of you who are listening have been where the exact scenario came true. Ambas were in the game, this track was on top of navigation, and Ambas just rushed it and scored plenty of points with it, and most likely won the game or competed very hard for first place. And even worse is the case of the Swarm, right? Because we all know, we have already discussed this, the Swarm is there is no other faction that is as good as the Swarm is to Russian advanced tactile, because the Swarm is able to form a federation around 1 or 2, which is very, very difficult, very unlikely for other factions. While in the meantime, rushing one of the tech tracks, especially science or economy, if this tactile sits on top of economy or science, of course, there are good chances that one of the 4 players will pick the Swarm and try this number, right? To rush that track, get the tile, and score a huge amount of points.
Especially science, I'd say, for Ivits or Avits, I don't know. Because on top of economy, also Taclons, also Firax will compete for it. But anyway, yes.
They will compete, but it's very hard that they will have a federation as early as the Swarm does. That's the whole problem with the Swarm, that they can plan in advance from the moment you pick factions on taking this tile, knowing that it's very, very unlikely that somebody else will be able to outpace you and get there before you do.
Yes, it sums up this how the placement for this tile, because if it's on top of navigation, Ambas will likely rush for it.
Yes.
If it's on top of every single other track, the Ivits will rush for it. But maybe
they have at least a chance. Yeah.
If it's on top of Gaia, Terrans will be a huge problem. Or maybe, well, I don't know, because they don't usually get on top of Gaia that early. But Gaia forming faction will have even another edge of scoring. So it's going to be hard.
Etars and Terrans are certainly happy if this one is found on top of the Gaia forming track. So the point is,
Baltics don't care because they will lose anyway. So
yeah, indeed. My point is, if this tile didn't exist, the swarm would not be considered a faction as strong as it is. Think about it. And that's one thing to be said about the Ivits or Ivits. So, anyways, I think we made it clear that this tile is very good, very powerful,
very strong.
It's very strong. Even if you're just a normal faction, okay. Even if you're just Geodans with their 3 federations, maybe if you get lucky, then you should definitely go for this tile. This is good, whatever faction you're playing.
Yes, even Firax, who are possibly the worst federation formers of the game, can score
even Firax
from this tile. There are just 2 small disadvantages. The first one is, this one, if you are not good at, no, it's not a disadvantage, but its scoring, its yield will vary according to your faction. So if you are Xenos, Ambas, Lantids, Bescods, it will be the best bet. If you are Firax, Hadchalas, or the like, it won't be the best, but it will still be worth it. The only true downside about this tile is that you have to calculate whether it's a good bet in case the round bonus for Federation is in play. So if there are, for example, 5 points per Federation forming on round 5 or 6, well, do some math, because
exactly.
It will likely still be worth it, but it won't be as good as it is when that bonus is not in play. That's the only small drawback about this tech tile.
Exactly. Do your homework and see if it's really an advantage for you to take this. One last note I'd like to add: I'm not necessarily of the opinion that the best codes have a good synergy with this tech tile, because it's true they excel at forming federations, but they tend to be late federators, if that's even a thing. You know what I mean? They tend to form most of the federation in the late game, so that, as we have said, every faction can do well with this tech tile, but I wouldn't put the best codes among the faction that will extract the most value out of it, because their federations tend to come late in the game. So if you're playing best codes, consider this. Also consider your...
No, yes, but the tile is so strong that I agree. But the tile is so strong that it's good nonetheless, because think about it. If at the end of round 5 you have 3 feds in play, totally doable, and at the end of round 6 you have the 4th, which with bad scots is rather easy to do. You will still score 21 points, which is a lot for an advanced tile.
Yes.
So pick this tile when you can, so at least nobody else will, which in itself is value. Yes.
Consider also the value of counter picking it. Even if you're not going to score, 30 points, but maybe just going to score 15, I don't know, but consider the value of counter picking it. So there is another and last tech tile, which I would say synergizes way better with our beloved best codes. Am I right, Matteo?
Yes. In fact, I was thinking about this when you said that the previous one isn't the best, but this one is. So 3 points per research lab whenever you pass. And this tech tile is, I have to be honest, I always look for this tech tile, especially on top of science or navigation, or even terraforming, but it depends. And in those cases, I will strongly consider 2 factions, which find in this style and in the combined round booster, 1 knowledge and the same round scoring. These 2 factions find a huge way of scoring with these two things. And these factions are Bescots and Nevlas.
Because they love their research labs.
Yep. I know that some players say that Nevlas research labs are the worst in the game, but I couldn't disagree more. I will talk about this better when talking about Nevlas, but I think that Nevlas gain huge value from the research
Nevla
labs.
episode coming soon.
They synergize so well with Nevla's general abilities that if they are motivated to build more, because of the mere presence of this tactile and the round booster, out of my experience, this is a great way for Nevlas to score. Because as we said during the first episode, Nevlas struggle at scoring, but these two tiles will allow them to score a lot. About Bescots, well, their labs are possibly the best ones in the game. So I mean,
it's very convenient for them to keep their research lab open. So this is a perfect tactile for them.
So, but it's also not a bad one for other factions. For example, I mean, the usual Ivids, they will score decent from this. It is likely to be terrible for Firax.
If you're playing Firax, do not even think about this. You know.
For other factions, I don't know. I think that it's very situational.
It's situational. One thing I think has to be said about this tactile: it looks really good, and it normally is. But sometimes I've seen it turn into a trap for certain factions in certain games. You need to calibrate very well the number of research labs that you need to build in order to get on the top of the track where the tile is placed, and taking any basic tactile that gives you an immediate bonus, and then you can cover it with this tech, with this advanced one, and then the research lab or academy that you need to actually take the tile. And this is the problem, because every time you open an academy, you cover one of your research labs, and that's 3 less points that you're going to score at the end of the round, unless you really have plenty of resources and you can rebuild that lab in that same round. Also, it's not just the road, the path that you take to get to this tile that matters, because even after you have gotten it, and maybe at that point you have all of your labs open, and then you are confronted with the decision if you need another tactile for whatever reason, advanced or not. You have to face the decision: will I open an academy in order to get this other tactile and then score 3 less points at the end of the round? Or I give up on the idea of taking other tactiles and I keep on scoring 9 points at the end of each round.
Yes, I agree with this. You have to put some calculations down before picking this tactile. I still like it. Oh, yes, and on top of that, of course, it came to my mind that it is also very good for tacklons, but that's because basically everything is very good for tacklons. So that's not a great news. But I like this style because I think that among the final the score at the end of your round, it's the most faction specific one, and it's one of the most faction specific ones in general, along with the build, trade station, and gain 3 points. And I also like the fact that somehow this style pulls up two factions which otherwise struggle a lot in scoring. So I like it.
I agree.
It looks, if I remember correctly, in the announced expansion for Gaia Project, there will be the round bonus for building labs, 4 points for each research lab. And that will be even more interesting.
Right. If that were true, it would give players yet another reason for playing Neblas or Bescots, which are undoubtedly two factions that, as we have said, they're really, really proud of their research labs.
And both these factions also have huge benefits from opening research labs on round 1. Neblas, because they have the opportunity to grab the charge for power immediately in round 1. And Bescots, because, well, Bescots labs are great. So I don't see why they shouldn't.
Bescots labs are great, and Bescots desperately need some bump on the tracks, and they cannot get that from side with knowledge points at least round 1, and so they need to open at least one research lab. So in the end, I would say this is another very good tactile, not necessarily as good as the ones that gives you 3 points for Federation. That is very immediate. That is very automatic. You don't really to plan too much in advance. You get the tech tile and you're gonna score a reasonably good amount of points. Between good and stellar, an awesome amount of points. This one, it's a bit more tricky in that you have to plan in advance a little if you want to really make it shine.
On the other hand, I can say that with Nevlas, I have scored at least once 36 points with this tile.
Yeah, totally doable.
So, well, keep it into account and please open your labs with Nevlas. But again, we'll talk about that in the future.
Do that.
For now, I think that, we have talked about of advanced technology tiles a lot. Tell us what you think.
Sorry, we didn't give you a ranking. We didn't, make we didn't make a tier list. I know we could have, annoyed more people if we had done so. So maybe next episode we will invent, create.
We'll rank something.
Yeah, just to piss someone off. We will rank stuff. We will rank, vegetables. Tomatoes are better than eggplants.
Colors for factions and stuff like that. But sectors. We had not ranked sectors, but
we will rank sectors. Sector 7 is the worst sector ever.
Of course.
Number 10 on my personal ranking.
Agree 100%. Okay, so until that moment, have fun playing Gaia Project, and hear you in the next episode of Paia Groject. Bye.
Goodbye.